Might help if I turn my mic on, mightn't it? Bit rusty, haven't been here for a little while. Oh, that's quite echoey. Isn't it? Oh, it sounds really echoey sitting here. Okay, so lovely to, pardon? John. Yep. So it's lovely to have a couple of visitors. So thanks guys for making the effort to come along tonight. Nice to have you here. But we don't have anyone wanting to speak tonight, so we will move on to the confirmation of the minutes from pages 9 to 14. And I will move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board confirms the minutes subject to a typographical error of the meeting held on the 13th of December 2023 as circulated with the agenda as a true and correct record of proceedings. Can I have someone to second that, please? Kane, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, so on pages 15 to 45, item 5, we've received the arts policy, public art acquisition for Kaipakapā. I'm assuming Anne's, oh, okay, so Anne's, hello Anne. So we will take that report as read, but if Anne, you've got anything you'd like to highlight first, and then I'll open it up to the floor for members to ask any questions that they may have. Does that sound okay?
Yep, thank you. Kia ora koutou. That sounds fine. I'm more than happy to take the report as read. As you've said, it's for a public art acquisition for a po at Kaipakapā on Uji Street in Te Awamutu. As part of the Taia Te Tauiao ecological corridor project, which runs from Maunga Tautari through to Pirongia. But happy to take any questions that the board might have.
Okay, so has anyone got any questions in regard to that po and the placement where it's been proposed to go? Nothing. Right, sounds easy. Kane?
Hi there, Anne. Just a question on the location. My understanding is the PAR is actually further up on Christie Avenue. Was there a combination or a number of different sites proposed at all, or was that, how was that chosen, I guess, is be good to flesh that out a bit.
Okay, so Tio, who works for Landcare Trust and is part of the project, went out with a couple of council staff members several months ago now, including Jason O'Day from our roading department, and they had a look at various sites, and that one was chosen to be the most suitable in close proximity to the Kaipakapā, a place where the public can access it, but it still marks that PAR site.
No, through you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, thanks for attending in. Just asking if they'd have a plinth or something under the po, just to stop it getting damaged with mowing, or we have tractors that actually mow that area, and you know, being made of metal and narrow, it would probably, just wondering whether they had a concrete plinth proposed.
Thanks, Lou. That will all be considered as part of the installation of the po. The people who mow the area will work with the roading team just to make sure that that's all appropriately installed, so that ongoing maintenance is not a difficulty.
Yeah, because I think a plinth would actually give it a lot more visibility as well. If you know, just get it a little bit higher and make it very, very knowledgeable and visible.
Sorry, Anne, just another one on the location. So my understanding is there's going to be a number of school kids and buses and what have you visiting the po. I guess I'm just a bit concerned in some ways for that particular area. So I don't know, I don't want to renegotiate things if it's all gone and done, but I just want to flag that as a concern. Has that been considered?
Yeah, Jason O'Day is our roading expert person who went out with Te Ao to select those sites. So Jason provided the feedback that he felt that, you know, that was a good site with good accessibility, good access, and you know, safe So he was quite happy for that from a roading perspective. Because it is set off a little bit, you know, it's not actually right beside the road, it's on the green space there. It's sort of classed as road and corridor, but it's closer to the stream.
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking is where all buses park to, and I'm sure there's been some thought into this, but I guess I'm just thinking of kids crossing roads and how that's all going to work out, but I'm sure there's been some thought put into that.
Yeah, there is that parking bay right there. It just opposite, right beside it there, there's a parking bay in there.
You through you, Madam Chair. And just one thing, we are going to be having an unveiling of the signage for the new bridges, which includes some artwork on the bridges from the locally artist, as well as naming the bridges as they originally were named, but representing Army, Navy, Air Force, and their name in Maori written or te reo underneath. Would that be sort of ideal to link that all together if we have an unveiling or something, and link those, you know, collectively together as a service?
I guess that would be a discussion we could have with Te Ao, and the corridor project people as to whether, you know, they felt that was an appropriate linkage, or whether they, you know, wanted to have a separate ceremony for that po. But we can certainly have that discussion. I'm not quite sure when installation. We don't have a set date for the installation of the po yet.
No, we're still waiting for finalisation of everything. So
yeah.
That now, but I just thought it would make sense because it's all sort of interrelates and interacts with each other to actually do that. We were talking of having an unveiling and then a small ceremony down there followed by light refreshments, etc. back at the RSA.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Think about it.
Yep, certainly happy to have that discussion with Te Ao.
Oh, thanks, Lou. Jill, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand pop up before.
That's fine now.
Okay. I just had a couple of things, Anne. One was you mentioned in your report that there's other po through the corridor, but they're all on private land. So I was just wondering about access by the public to those other po. Or are they just basically, I don't know, how do they work? Are they just there? I was just curious, like, well, I wonder how they work.
To be honest, I can't answer that. I've been working with Te Ao on this one because it's on council land. I don't actually know the sites of the other ones, but I'm assuming they would be publicly accessible. You know, they would want them to be, because they would be markers along the corridor. So
Yeah.
they presumably are in areas where the public can access them.
Okay, cool. And then, so my other question was, in your report, you mentioned that there was going to be some additional signage to explain or tell the story of the po and a QR code. I was just sort of wondering, have you got any idea of sort of how big that is, or how that's going to look alongside, or where it's going there?
So we're working with, at the moment, with a company to create a suite of heritage signs. And we have one in particular that is designed to be at the foot of things like po. So there is that particular signage. So we'll probably recommend to Te Ao that they use that signage. It will be there. We haven't worked out all the logistics of how the QR code or anything like that will link in as yet. That's still a bit further down the track.
Oh yeah, so I was just more, so when I'm not familiar with that, so is it something that sits alongside or underneath, or how? I was just trying to picture what you were intending to do.
Yeah, so I guess basically if you imagine kind of like an A3 piece of paper, it's sort of that size, maybe a little bit bigger, and it's more like a plaque. So it's much lower level, so it doesn't kind of detract from the po. It would sit at the foot of the po, and it might be, it'd be less than 1/2 metre high.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. No, that's awesome. Thank you. Did anyone else have anything further? No?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Oh, Kane,
Just
thought of
sorry, and
something else?
just on the other side of the road, my understanding is there is some erosion issues with the stream. I guess the question is there any concern around the Poe's location in terms of erosion with the stream?
Brad might be able to answer that better than I can. I'm not quite sure about the erosion. I know that they, did check out that site, but how far it actually is from any erosion, I don't know.
Kia ora tātou. So it's actually a really good question, Kane. So we'll double check that that particular section is okay. Because the Mangahoe stream, we've got a project that goes right along that stream, right from up by Albert Park or Albert Road, right through Memorial Park. So yeah, it's a good question, and we'll double back and make sure that is still appropriate. But I am confident that particular section, or that particular, as we call it, particular reach, is one of the less erosion prone, I suppose you could say. But yeah, we'll definitely double back on that one.
Sure. Thanks, Brad.
Cool. So nothing further? Okay. Oh, look, thank you, Anne, for speaking to that and answering those few questions. It's much appreciated. So can I please have someone to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receive the report of Anne Blythe, Director Museum and Heritage, titled Arts Policy / Public Art Acquisition, Kaipaka Pā, document 111555101, and B, endorse the proposed public art as set out in Appendix 3 of this report for the installation of a PO to identify Kaipaka Pā. Lou, second? Need someone to second it? John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, next item is the update on interpretation process and guidelines, which again is Anne. So thank you for staying, Anne. Pages 46 to 60. It looks like you lot have been hard at work trying to sort out all these things and think of every possible conceivable thing that can come up when you're wanting to put some artwork out in a public space. So you can clearly see there's been a lot of work. So thank you. We will take the information as read. So questions, folks, in regard to the interpretation process and guidelines that Anne and her team have put together in regard to heritage signage. So, Kane? Oh, and then Jill.
I'm hoping I'm getting this in the right place, Anne. I've marked it here in this area. If, for example, the skate park in Riwi Street, you came and presented that there were going to be murals done, and that was great. So, but when you came to the meeting, it had already been decided what the designs were. And another time, would the community board get a say in that, or do we just find out afterwards? Thank you.
So that, just to be clear, so you're now talking about public art rather than the heritage interpretation report? You've gone back to public art?
Oh, sorry, it was on page 47.
From the last item that moved on.
Oh, hang on. So,
Outside the
yeah, so it should have been in the earlier one, Jill. So we'll just have to leave it for now. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about the heritage trail signs, and so there's a little part at the start where we've explained the position of where council and staff are in regard to the heritage signs that have gone walkabout or have got old and tired. And then following from that is the work they've done in preparation for when we help them get some money out of the LTP to replace the signs. So we look a bit clear about where we are. So pages 46 to 60. Yep. So I'd have got a question, but I've just got to try and interpret what I wrote, what I meant. So has anyone else got, Kane, you had a question?
Yeah, are we looking to finalise all the heritage signs and then complete all of the heritage signs in one go? Or is there the opportunity to get some signage up there that we're pretty sure on, that's been there for a long time, we know, so we can get that moving? Appreciate there's the budget to sort in the LTP, and I get all of that and get that side of it. But is there a way we can prioritise some of it so we can get some signage up, assuming we get the LTP budget, etc.?
I guess the really important thing is to complete that holistic review of all the signage, all the stories that have been told through that signage, and actually figuring out if there are some themes in there for storytelling, some different ways that they could be told rather than just replacing with signs, whether we can combine signs, use some QR codes, that kind of thing. So we would want to sort of complete that holistic review before we started putting any new signs in, I guess would be our thinking on that. And then, like you say, there's currently no budget to do the signage suite.
Yeah, I guess my concern is it's taken quite a long time. So I'm not critical of staff. I'm just saying it'd be great to get them out there as part of the tourism of the town. So just so my understanding with the timing, how long would we? So we've got to finalise the process and then open it up. I guess there'll be a cut-off time in terms of getting submissions. I'm assuming for heritage signage, whatever people are thinking. Is that correct? And then I guess I'm just thinking of time frames, like how long away are we expecting this to take, I guess?
So
assuming budget, right?
So I'm happy to jump in there, Kane. So yeah, there's two parts to this. We obviously need to complete our guidelines and get them approved internally first. It's largely an internal document, which we are able to then sort of post or share for the community to be able to for future signage and things to be able to use as a marker or a way of understanding what we do and don't interpret. But then as soon as that's completed, we can then move to doing a comprehensive review of the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Heritage Trail Suite. And then obviously then there's the funding component of that as well, which comes via the long-term plan. So look, we've still got a little bit more work to tidy up. That guidelines, as you know, it's still in draft. So we're doing that around our other business as usual work as well. So I don't want to be able to. I don't want to give you a firm time frame and then deviate from this. But we are still some months away from achieving that. By the time we go through the process of finalising, doing the review, and then getting any funding, that the funding is probably the key part. We could probably we'll continue to progress the guidelines and get that tidied up as we go. But yeah, the funding is going to be the crucial element to that. And again, like what Anne was saying, would be looking to do that holistically. Like we wouldn't want to go out and replace it ad hoc. We want to make sure we do it right. So yeah, that's where we're kind of sitting with that. Sorry, I can't give you an exact time that we can identify at the moment.
Lou and then Sally.
Well, I think Brad actually answered that very, very well. But we as council are under significant financial constraint. So this has not got a budget currently or funding currently in there. So that could take some time. We've got to consider what we're doing right now, the LTP, and that could be left out for 2 or 3 years yet. So it's just got to be considered. It goes to a submission process where the public can make their choices of what they want or don't.
So you're saying 24 to 30, 33, Lou, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That could take some time.
Sally?
Okay, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Anne, for this report. I would understand that you've put a lot of effort and considerable into the guidelines, and I understand that that's what we're discussing this evening. At the bottom of page 47, you've said, should the community board wish to provide feedback on the draft guidelines, this can be provided in writing or via email to the director, and that's of course to yourself. And my only question is, when would you like that? What's the date, or what's the cut-off point for that? Because that means that we could go away, look at this. We've had 3 days. And then get back to you via the email and the feedback system that you have asked. So just asking for a timeline on that, please.
At least a couple of weeks would be fine to allow that amount of time for feedback. If that suits.
I've just got a couple of questions. So on page, hang on, let me put my glasses back on so I can read it. 47, you'd made a reference to project-specific items within the budget that you do have. What are you able to tell us what sort of things that you've got, sort of that you, are you talking about signage? Are they specifically signage project specific at this point, or?
Yeah,
I'm
so if I can
presuming
jump in
they're
there.
relating to the signage. Brad, are you able to?
Yeah, happy to jump in there again. Yeah, so that's looking at specifically funded pieces of work through the LTP. So I'm thinking about projects like, well, even the PO that we've just discussed previously, the previous item, that's a new piece of work that's got some external funding which would help fund that particular item. Also, if there was a particular new, say we brought a new park on board, or something like that, if it came with its own specific budget, I mean, then that would be utilised for that purpose. Sorry, I don't know if I made that very clear, but did you understand what I put down there?
Yeah, no, I
Yep,
just,
yep.
yeah, I thought that's probably what you meant, but I
Yep.
just thought, I just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah.
And my second question was around if, and I don't know how or if we could even do this, but if the community board was able to come up with some external funding to pay for some temporary signs, and we meet the criteria that, you've set out in your guidelines for the signs, that they look right, would that be an opportunity that we could explore to be able to have some information up around the place to replace some of the ones that have gone missing, or just to have something, like I think one of the key ones is like Old St. John's. That's one of the signs that is missing, and I stand to be corrected, but I think it's the oldest church in the Waikato, and it has nothing. And I just think it's such a lost opportunity that there's nothing there for people to actually realise, or just wandering along go, oh, wow, look at this. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so that's a good point, and we something we have discussed previously at this forum around some temporary signage, and I suppose there's just the caution, I suppose, around temporary signage, and usually there's often core fruit plastic signage which you try to minimise where you can, obviously, but I suppose through you, Chair, maybe a good opportunity to review that offer would probably be once we finish the guidelines and then done the assessment of the the specific Kihikihi and Te Awamutu Heritage Trail, and then potentially, and if there's that funding gap, then potentially that's an opportunity we could look at some of that temporary signage. I think that's probably the best timing for it. But as Anne said, we're probably going to do that comprehensive review just to see if we can, holistically collate some signs together, or produce them a different way. But noting the church one is probably, sits outside what that is. But I think, yeah, timing wise, I think it's probably the best opportunity then is once we've done that holistic review, when we can chat further.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Has anyone else got any further questions for Anne or Brad in regard to the heritage signs? No? Oh, well, look, thank you very much, Anne and Brad for the information you've provided there and for the work that you've done on that report. So if I can have someone move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receive the report of Anne Blythe, Director, Museum and Heritage, titled Update on Interpretation Process and Guidelines. I have a mover. Bruce, second. Sally, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, so thank you. We now move
Kia ora tātou.
on
Good evening.
Thank you.
to item 7, and I see Brian's sitting on standby there. So this is the planned pedestrian improvements for Walton and Rewe Streets on pages 61 to 67. Again, we will take the report as read. Brian, is there anything that you would like to highlight before I ask the community board if they have any questions, please?
Right, thank you, Madam Chair. Just highlight that these are all areas where, community groups and individuals have contacted council staff in the past and said that they'd like to see improvements here to pedestrian safety, and it's taken us a while to get these to this point, but we are with the right feedback from people and consultation and everything ready to get these underway. So looking forward to hearing your ideas and feedback tonight.
Thank you. Righto, so have we got any questions or comments? Bruce, fire away.
Brian, I think Walton Street upgrade is going to be fantastic. Are there more parking spaces available? By the look of it, it looks like there's lots, but...
33.
Oh, how many?
Yep.
7.
9.
Mhm.
Oh, there, sorry, didn't I read? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. At the moment, it's parallel parking on the telecom exchange side. And so moving to angle parking on that side with the one-way system does provide more parks.
I'd like to perhaps through you, Madam Chair, just absolutely supportive of the Walton Street and particularly the toilets, which are probably older than I am, and that's saying something.
Oh, serious.
They've been there for a long time. They were there when I had the pie cut up there, so that's a year or two ago. So they definitely need an upgrade. And utilising that space a lot more efficiently would allow even retailers to utilise that area a little bit in that area. That's well worth it.
Okay. Sally?
Rightio, Brian, I'm a good and bad girl. I've got good and bad to say about it. Or what do you want first, the good or the bad?
Up to you.
Okay, I'll start from page to page. So first of all, Walton Street. It was interesting because the initial idea, it was like, wow, I'd actually come from the other end. And then you think, oh, emergency services, fire stations just around the corner. So if they're going for emergency, so presumably that was all sussed out and da-da-da-da-da. However, when I look at the diagram, and I presume that you've obviously logistically thought of it, I'm wondering, how's the fire truck going to get around that bottom corner or the top, off Readout Street? And then when it comes around, because this is a big vehicle, when it comes around the top edge, because that'll be the way it's directed out to Alexander Street, that top roading aspect takes you to the left, not to the right. So I presume that's all been thought out, but in the diagram, it actually doesn't quite come together for me.
Right. So this is a concept design, and the detailed design, we will overlay turning paths on it and make sure it is free and easy for the fire truck to go through there. So no, we're very conscious of that. So we showed the initial concept to one of the fire service senior staff, and they said yes, they think they can work with that, and obviously through the detailed design we would make sure it's 100% for them.
Fantastic, because when you've got people, the volleys, we've got to look after them, don't we? They do a mighty job. Okay, yes. Appendix 2. That's, no disrespect or anything. The off-ramp, it's interesting that it goes down to the car park and not straight in front, but presumably that's been corrected, because I would have thought, if you've got a person in a wheelchair or you've got pram or people walking, you don't actually want them walking out to the car park, that it would go straight onto the footpath.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. We may end up doing both. It's just that from the road down to that footpath, you can see on the left-hand side, it's quite a steep grade. So it would not be suitable for somebody, you know, on a mobility device or an elderly person to walk down that steep slope. But hey, the kids may well ride their bicycles and skateboards and things down it, no trouble at all.
Right.
But we need to have an easy graded path that pedestrians who are not so able can use as well.
Interesting. That's fantastic. Thank you. Now, no disrespect, I would imagine that just to save ratepayer money potentially or whatever, that with the overlay, you know, you're narrowing the road and just, I presume, I would imagine that that there is adequate on that side edge, that there is adequate load capacity for the increase in the trucks and things that will have their wheels now in the gutter because of the narrowing of the road on the right-hand side, so the western side of the road.
Yep, you're quite correct. At the moment, on the left-hand side of the road heading west, we have parking on that shoulder, and we would have to shorten up the parking on that shoulder to move the traffic over that side. And that is around, I guess we don't want parked vehicles sort of blocking the view ahead of pedestrians trying to, you know, see approaching traffic or approaching traffic seeing pedestrians as we wouldn't want them stepping out behind a parked car. So we do need to remove the parking on that side for a distance in front of the crossing. But certainly the lane will be wide enough that trucks will not be, you know, needing to drive hard against the edge of the curb or anything. There'll still be quite wide traffic lanes there. So plenty of room. Yeah. Good.
I just don't want it having to be dug up because we've got more potholes in 12 months' time. That's all. Yep. What was the reason for having that increased edge on the right-hand side, Brian, just out of interest?
Like the existing footpath is quite narrow on that side, so we do want a bit of space if, you know, kids arrive on skateboards or bicycles and they're turning onto the crossing point. We've got that, you know, ability for a bit more space for groups of pedestrians to be standing before they cross. But as I say, it is around you know, closing up the space so you haven't got a really wide road for pedestrians to be crossing. And that issue I mentioned about taking the parking away on the approach so people can be seen. So it's sort of a combination of those factors.
Right, thank you. And then Appendix 3, something certainly needs to be done with that station road aspect. And I'm not convinced about the value for money and with the environment short on cash with regards to the one going into the west. I mean, I think, you know, you've got a great footpath on the right. It keeps on going to St Mary's Ave. There's ample room, but, you know, again, not my call, but in this cash-stricken society, is that value for money? So those are...
Right. Well, certainly... Yeah, when we get to pricing it with the contractor, if there is a constraint, that's something that would go. But at the moment, if a pedestrian does walk down that path, of course, that path ends at the bridge. There's no continuation, no footpath on that side, so they have to cross the road there. Or if their destination is, you know, one of the houses just on that side, they'd be tempted to cross the road there. So it was around, you know, providing a suitable space for them to do that. But you're quite right. It's it's ideal that we do it, but if budget is a constraint, then it's something that could be dropped off.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your time.
Sure.
Okay, anyone else got any other comments? Lou, have you?
Just quickly through you, Madam Chair. Brian, I'm very, very interested in the Reary Street, particularly with Station Road. I've had to rescue 3 people with mobility scooters, you know, that have had problems actually negotiating to get onto the bridge, that lift that gets up. And this will actually negate a lot of that. And the fact that you've taken away, as I believe, that rail, that concrete rail on the bridge, which will widen, we're
Correct.
talking of quite a considerable widening, which once again would stop the issue we had with one scooter, the guy got upset, dropped his wheel over the edge and then fell onto the road. So we've had problems. So I just think that this is well thought out. It's going to be, with the new development we've got out there, we're very likely to get a lot more mobility scooters, particularly with a rest home up there. You're probably more likely to see a lot more of those. So I think this is positive. Perhaps at a later date, we'll be widening the road. We'll wait and see.
Yes. Thank you, Louis.
Was there anyone else that had any questions or comments? So my turn. Yeah, really stoked to see this come through so quickly. I've spoken to a number of people since the upgrade of the skate park and the Centennial Park down there that have had real concerns about getting across that bit of road. And wee while ago now, but as a mum pushing a pushchair along there, following a coffee group, it's not a nice piece of footpath even, when you're under current circumstances. So I just make sure I've interpreted your plan correctly. Are you actually going to widen the footpath round and then around that other nasty corner just past the park? Like it shows some red lines saying widening of the footpath, but I just wasn't quite sure, is that like, because part of it's in your creamy colour, peachy colour, and then you've got a red dotted line saying that it's widening. So is that whole bit going to widen right round that corner? Have I understood that correctly?
Yes, sorry, Madam Chair, if we had the budget, then that's ideally what we'd do. But that red line is showing how in the future, because we are thinking ahead, like Lou said, with the more residents at that end of the street and the retirement village, that one day we would like to have a wide footpath that came all the way from, the top of Frontier Road, Rewe Street, right down and into town. And so it's, part of this is future-proofing it so that we could do that in the future. But what is in that buff colour is what we can afford to do now.
Okay,
But
well,
we have
my
thought
little
ahead
bit of
to-
feedback would be if
Yeah.
we could find some money, even if it meant we couldn't do something else for the meantime, that if we could go around that corner, that would be something because that corner is awful.
Right.
It really is not nice. The Station Road intersection, I think that's great. I'm just curious, do we actually own all of that piece of land, or do we have to purchase some of that?
No, we were very mindful that we couldn't, we wouldn't want to purchase land to achieve this. So we have designed it to fit completely within the existing road land that we own.
Oh, yep. No, that looks really great, and because that intersection's just horrible, so that really will be a real bonus just there. And then I just had a couple of questions back on the Walton Street development. One was, you've got a bit of greenery and stuff there. Is that just going to be low? Because of course the lovely old fire engines in there with the big glass windows and stuff. So I was just sort of wondering what that shrubbery, and I know it's early days, but I'm assuming that will be nice low shrubbery so we don't lose that ability to look in there.
Yep, you're quite correct. We don't want to screen the display glass for that. We haven't done specific design work on the greenery yet. As I say, this is a concept design and it just identifies some areas that can be green. But, we'll work with designers and our parks team to make sure that it's suitable, easy maintenance, attractive landscaping. Okay.
And then just curious, on just up from that greenery where the old fire truck is, aren't there parks at the moment just along there?
At the moment, there is a big entranceway into the back of the courts and on that side. So no, there's no parking
For some reason I thought there was some parks in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll double check if there is. you know, opportunity to keep a parallel park or two in there before the entrance, we will. But I think
Yeah.
there is both an entrance into the fire
There's
with
definitely
a
is.
display, and
The display one's on the other side, isn't it? Oh,
It
yes, and
is,
where they get
yep.
it out. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so
and
we
then
just have
into
to
the
keep
back of the
those
courthouse.
clear. Yeah, but if there's opportunity to put another parking space in there, then we certainly will do that.
Cool. No, otherwise that looks great. Take a bit of getting used to not being able to drive both ways, but no, awesome. So are there any further questions?
Yeah, you
now-
prompted me. With regards to parallel parks, I think on that Walton Street one, down the end where you've got 3 parks, a parallel park as a mobility would be quite neat, because if you're the driver and you've got an elderly, you know, like your mother or your father or whatever, they will be on the passenger side of the car. And if you look at that diagram, they would then be able to hop out onto the footpath. Just food for thought, having been in the,
Right.
I know it would take up
Yeah.
car park space. So
We have one disabled car park shown there right beside the toilet on the left-hand side, and it can be used. Obviously, if the driver's disabled, then they open their door and get out, and they're straight into the toilet. But if they've got a disabled passenger, they can still park in there, and they will park hard over towards the toilet, leaving a space on the passenger side of the car for the pedestrian to get out and to the toilet or shops. So those disabled car parks can be used either way.
Yeah, no, right. So Joe, what do I need to do about listing the feedback?
This is what I thought. So I support the construct proposal in point 1. I support the Railway Street crossing pedestrian program proposal in next 2, but noted the need for the crossing those that are not able to manage steep grading. Is that what you wanted to?
Noted the need. Yep.
I'm talking about that. Do you want to add it in, or just want to support it?
I often support it because, yeah.
So it's just support the Railway Street station road pedestrian improvements proposal in next 3, so it's support for all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think okay. On balance, everybody is in support of what Brian's team's put here. You know, like we've made a couple of comments, but there's nothing that's a big standout that we're like going, oh, don't do that. If there's a little bit of extra budget, the other nice thing would be if we could have a footpath that runs around the edge of the car park and joins back under the tree with, you know, with the existing car park off the Rewe Street one, you know, where you've shown where it just goes to the car park. But
Yes.
that's just a bit of extra concrete. Maybe we could get them to donate us some. Live in hope.
Yes.
All right. So do I need to list all of those as part of our
Well,
resolution?
I suppose you could just say, read all of that out, or just say change after the document number and then read that out.
Okay. So, all right, let's just go with the Te Awamutu. Okay. Can I please have someone to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives a report of Jason O'Day, Transportation Safety Engineer, title plan pedestrian improvements for Walton and Rewe Streets, and that we provide the following feedback on the plan: that we support the Walton Street proposal in Appendix 1, we support the Rewe Street crossing pedestrian improvement proposal in Appendix 2, and we support the Rewe Street Station Road pedestrian improvements proposed in Appendix 3. Jill, someone to second it,
So
please.
Sally, did you want anything noted?
John? No, I don't think so. I checked. Yeah, no, I checked. So anyone, oh, sorry, those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, thanks, Joe. Righto. Thank you, Brian, much appreciated. Oh, and I was just going to say, seeing as you're
Madam
there,
Chair.
don't worry about the little end bit. I popped on my email. I will take my shovel down because the sweeper truck has kind of spread quite a lot of the shingle around and it's just a little bit, so I'll go and scoop it out of the way. You'll see what I mean when you read my email.
Madam Chair,
It'll
yes,
become
Madam
clear.
Chair, I did alert our contractor.
Oh,
Madam Chair, I
you're
did
ahead of me.
alert our contractor to that, so they have had an instruction to go and clean that up.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. It's not quite as
Thank
bad
you.
as it had been, so thank you.
Good
Trying to
night.
be helpful. Okay, night. Thanks, Brian. He's ahead of me. I was meant to send him another email today and I just ran out of time. Okay, so we move on to item number 8 on pages 68 to 70, which is our current financial position. So we currently are looking at the discretionary grants funds of $12,903.65, which have been committed from the prior year. And we have $5,416.46 of expenditure paid to date. So we now, I'm not going to read all of that because everybody can read it themselves, but there is a balance of $9,252.42. So has anyone got any comments or questions in regard to the Treasury report?
I think we
Kane?
brought this up last time. Are we able to clear out some of these old prior year commitments and things that are?
I did check with the accountant with that, and the issue is that those ones, while they're sitting there, then they flow into the balances in the page before. So if I take them out of that, then your balances, your numbers aren't going to add up on the front page. Because it talks about less committed projects, and so you've got your total, all your totals, and those two sets of tables on that next page add up to your total of 61,75498. So if I take rows out, your numbers won't balance.
Joe, what was our $187.19 sticking out there from the flags? Oh, that was just what we've got left over. So does that need to just be moved back into the main fund?
What we will be just doing over the, hopefully doing over the next month is just checking any, they're trying to go through the prior year commitments in both community boards and seeing which ones we can clear out, just checking back on the history. So we're doing that over the next
Because
month.
the flags were us. So obviously we'd committed 710, but we only needed to spend 522 if I've read that correctly.
We just need to go back and check against our
But that was an us one. That's not like it's one that's sitting there. Okay, all right. Well, if everybody's happy with that, let's move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Nada Milne, Financial Accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 31st of January 2024. So I'll move that. Can I have someone second it? Sally, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, item number 9, we have a notice of motion from Councillor Brown on pages 71 to 72 in regard to the project battery. Lou, would you like to speak to that? I have a little update
Yes, certainly.
on that too.
As I say, we set this all up and have gone through, and at the moment we're getting rather short of funds. Now, what we were developing over as urban miners at the moment in Cambridge is that they're actually approaching Mitre 10, and they've sponsored. I would like to see the new owner at Pack and Save, because batteries are sold in Pack and Save, to see if they take a high profile and actually start to just pay for a little bit of this. We can advertise it and it can be, addressed. So I'd like a little bit more time. Now I've collected just this afternoon. So we've got something like 80 odd kilograms of batteries at the moment. 80 odd kilograms, plus probably another 10 kilograms of auxiliary batteries. These are the,
little ones.
I've got about a kilo of those. Now I'm talking of the ones that are large enough to power tools. So, they are a different thing altogether. So what I was wondering if the committee board would consider was to consider carrying on with this to allow us to get a bit more time and be able to negotiate with a new owner, because there is a new owner in there, and see if we can get something aligned that would help us with this. Because I think it should be self-sustaining over a period of time, and that I think that was always our objective. But at the moment, we've sort of created it, and allowed it to head on. And if we leave it going, I think it'll become a monster, and the fact that it'll cost more and more. And if they take it over, I think they'll be able to negotiate what they do with it. I think we could still collect batteries. I'm happy to do that.
I think they should do that though, Lou.
Well, we've got
For a year
we've
one.
got the ability to take it to Hamilton, to Arnold Street, which it'll happen on Sunday. They want to give them. I can't see them being able to transfer them from there into Arnold Street and get them through the process. If they do it, and this is what's happening with Mitre 10, they're doing exactly the same over there. That the urban miners are collecting the batteries from the site and taking them through, simply because of the cost of that on top. And if they do it privately, they would not make the advantage of size. So we don't have an economy of scale. But if you bring them through urban miners, we've got the economy of scale, all the batteries going in a truck.
Yeah, and it is working
And it's
well.
working really well.
I just wanted to add, I touched base with Mark Hannon, who's the chairperson of Urban Miners, because I was just curious sort of like where we were sitting weight-wise, without me having to go and add it all up. He didn't actually come back specifically with the weights. At the moment, we're averaging around about that 80 kilos per month. So what he was recommending that we would be looking at is probably the 100 kgs per month at $4.50. So that works out at 5,400 per annum. So it sort of just gives you a bit of an idea. So if we could get Pack and Save on board, that would be amazing to, come up with part of it. And if community board's still keen to continue, that we could do the other half. But I'm, quite supportive of what Lou's saying, in that if we could just keep it going so we can then get a full year's actual data of how much we've put through this year, to then give us a little bit, a more accurate account of it. Whereas if we stop now, we kind of are just that bit short. So that was just my little addition.
Because it started from very small beginnings, and we were fairly slow at the start, but that 80 kilograms seems to be pretty much a complex.
Yeah, it's kind of about where we're at, eh? Yeah. So has anyone got any other questions in regard to the battery project that they wanted to ask? No? All right, shall we? Yep, no, go.
Oh, actually, no, you've answered my question.
Well, we can ask, I mean, that's a starting point, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, all right, well, let's, Lou, if you'd like to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board allocates $1,000 plus GST to recycle household batteries for Project Battery from its uncommitted discretionary funds, and undertakes work to seek an alternative funding source for this service. You happy to move that? Seeing it's your motion? Yep. Okay, seconder, Jill, all in favour? Against? Carried. Awesome. And the batteries continue. My sign got made redundant before I got it up. Okay, we now move on to item 10, which was the survey information that the community board collected from the Kihikihi Community Day back in December. It was a Friday, so that's on pages 73 to 75. I'm not sure if anyone's got any questions for Jill. She collated all of that. Thank you, Jill. I thought it was pretty interesting, some of the comments that people made. It's always nice to be getting feedback from people, and that we can hold on to this and take it into account when we're making various decisions.
Madam Chair, it was more important, Kat, getting the information off the public. That was the exciting part, I think. Getting them to write something down came to justify it.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any further questions or comments about that. Jill, have you got anything
I
you
just
wanted
think
to add?
the Kihi people felt it was nice that they were included, and that we did want to know what they thought and they could offer their opinions. Yeah. Now that we are the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board, it's just nice to include them as often as we can. Yes, I think they were quite delighted to do that. And as you remember, people who filled in a questionnaire were anonymous, But they did go in the draw to win a donated prize, which Sally did a lot of work getting all these prizes. And then I had the job, I think Sally went away, of ringing all these people and telling them they had a prize. So I just had to pull them out of the hat. And that was really interesting too, because each person came to my house and collected their prize. And not one person went away with not having a talk about, how they felt, and about basically about the community board and how things were going. And it was all really positive. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
No, look, that's really good. So I think it was a great job. It was good to be there and get out amongst the community. And if we get opportunities like that, I think we definitely want to do that again. Lou?
Yeah, just write down a question 10, activities for youth. And I think John would be a good man to talk to about what they're doing at the old Alpha Hotel, and the fact that they're going to develop that into a community hub as funding becomes available. But that is something that could be done. I'll just leave you for that, John, if you'd like to talk on it.
Yep, we can talk to that when we talk about things that you've been doing. Is that all right? We'll do that there because it just ties in better there than it does directly toward the survey. So if there's nothing further in regard specifically to the survey, let's wind that up. So can I please have someone to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the survey information from Board Member Taylor included in Appendix 1. Lou, someone to second that? John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, now we're going to slot in board members' reports and places you've been or people you've spoken to. So let's start with John and what he's been up to at the Alpha and what's planned there.
I can't tell you much about the Alpha at present. Just, before Christmas, things came to a bit of a grinding halt. The maintenance thing that we were doing, rehashing doors and other bits and pieces, we came to a point where we can't do any more. Funding's an issue, and we told the trust that were running it they needed to get in and clean the kitchen area up and the restaurant so they could get painted. So I can't answer anything else. Haven't seen Bill to talk to or anything else like so at present. We've come to a bit of a grinding halt on that. I'd like to see it get going again, but it's money that's the problem, like anything.
Forgot to turn myself on. Okay, thank you. Anything else that you've been to or wanted to comment on?
I can't remember Angie's surname, but she's part of the Parks and Reserve under Brad. I had a meeting with her in the Forley Place Reserve next to the CHT. We're looking at getting a seat in there. It's in the program. It will happen between now and the end of July, fingers crossed.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, and on top of that, when they don't get down there to mow the lawns, I take my lawnmower down to keep the paspalum that's grown over the footpath clean. Other than that, that's fine.
Okay, thanks, John. Anyone else got anything that they wanted to comment on or that they've been or seen? Or?
Yeah, so I went to the Don't Burn Waipa evening a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the exact date. That was really interesting. 21st of...
Last week.
Yeah. And I've called all of the hall in the district, except for one. Te Rahu, Puhui, Rangiawhia, Parawera, Pukeatua. Only one comment, the re-registration of incorporated society. Just wondering if there's assistance that can be done for that at all. So that was really the only concern that came up. I'll check in again with them. So it's just a rolling. I said, if you've got any ideas, issues in the future, we'll be in touch. Been following the US court case on the US EPA versus the Fluoride Action Network. That ruling's coming out in about a month. And that's going to have a significant impact on the information that's available on it. I've emailed the mayor. The mayor is not concerned about it. I'm really concerned about this. So I'd like to somehow have a conversation offline. But it's what it's basically saying. The plaintiffs are basically saying one IQ is lost at 0.3 parts per million. The safe level is 10 times less than that, which is 0.03. So we're going to be fluoridating in Cambridge at 0.7 to 1 part per million. So yeah, it's pretty serious and no one's listening to this issue. So I've been talking about it for 9 years. So crunch time coming up in a month. So just heads up on that. That's going to be big news. So that's what I've been up to.
Cool. Anyone else got anything?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Sally?
I've done quite a bit, actually.
Good. Pleased to hear it.
So e-waste, did e-waste back in January, end of January, and sorry, Lou, I'm unavailable this Sunday. Attended the Thursday produce market and the Waipa Council car park market and handed out these to increase our profile in the community. And people are happy to take away, listen, look, and it's getting it out there. Went to the Don't Burn Waipa public meeting. These people are very, they're busy people and they're doing a massive job. 900 submissions is incredible, particularly when you listen to Gary Diet talking about how difficult the process is and how difficult doing submissions are and things. And to get 900 is just astounding and good on our community, and I am advocating along with them. The 12th came to a hui here for, it was a project team for the Memorial Playground and the Te Awamutu War Memorial Park. I felt like a bit of a gatecrasher actually, however, I had put it out there or asked to attend and to learn and understand and be more able to fulfil the role of advocacy in the community. And yeah, it was a very interesting meeting and learnt quite a bit. Yesterday I watched on Zoom the Anchor workshop, which was, there were lots of interesting comments. It's always good to hear what the staff are saying and also what the councillor feedback is. Very, very informative, and thanks Kirsty for all that enthusiasm and motivation. I do find, however, with regards, it brought to mind the actions of our community board, and in particular the Homes Garage, and enough is enough and enough said probably. But thank you. I am honoured to be a part of this team and looking forward to the clean-up day, Kane.
Cool. So thank you. Anyone else got anything further? So Lou, Urban Miners is Sunday?
Urban Miners, or just quickly, anybody that can come on Sunday.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that'd be good. We need people. And that last collection was the largest that we'd taken out of Awamutu. And we've recycled, I think it's in excess of 50 tonnes of e-waste out of the venue. So that's pretty good. So yeah, I got those figures the other day from the a presentation we did at the Rotary Club.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they've had them in there.
No, they do an amazing job. Cool. Also on the 3rd of March, I've had an email from Anne-Marie Verhoeven from out at Pukeru from the Kikapuku Mauna team, and they have another wattle pulling day on the 3rd of March. So unfortunately, it is going to clash with our urban miners. They'll leave from the car park at 8:30. So if you know of anyone that feels like a bit of extra exercise, has an interest in pulling out wattles, which are very easy to pull out, but wants to help prevent those from taking over our maunga, we would love to see them out there and help support that team of people. I wanted to just thank and acknowledge Brian. I had a member of the community with some concerns in regard to road markings, storm gratings, and intersections, and I got a very quick, really helpful response from Brian. And despite the fact that I had missed this lady's email for a little bit, it had got hidden in the bowels of my email. And I was the slow one. Brian made up for my slackness, got back to us, and we've got a very happy lady that got got the response that she was after. I mentioned the wattle pulling. Just a heads up, there was another near miss of a little kitty at the Riwi Maniapoto playground where a little child ran out into the road again. So looking forward to seeing that widening of the road and the cars not being parked there, and hopefully that will solve that issue. Just a heads up for people that hadn't already seen it in the newspaper. And I've been walking my dog around there, watching with interest the new playground go in down at the War Memorial Park. So just watching that develop. But otherwise, at this point in time, I don't think I've caught up with anyone else. We had to, unfortunately, put in our apologies for the Kihikihi residents and ratepayers meeting tonight. So I think there would have been 3 of us had planned to go along to that. So it's a bit of a shame we can't be there, but look forward to catching up with them. I've also provided them with a list of our meeting dates so that if they do have anything they want to bring to us, that they are able to do that. And then on next week, the SPMP meeting, our resolution will be going to that. Joe let me know that yesterday, and we have an opportunity to speak to that. So I'm pretty keen to get along and just put forward a couple of comments based on our conversation that we had the other night. So I think that's me. No, that will be at 9:05 approximately on the 4th? 5th. Sorry, Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday the 5th, because Monday's, yep. Make sure I better come on the right day. I would have been early at least. Yeah, so if there's nothing further, I think that's pretty much got us covered. Yep, okay. Thank you. So the date of our next meeting then, item 12, will be on the 6th, on Wednesday the 27th at 6 p.m. And before I close the meeting, I would like to do a karakia whakamutanga. So we'll move into that. Kua mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, mana kitia mai mātou. O mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi. Our work has finished for the time being. Protect us all, our friends, our family. Peace to the universe.